In today's episode of Basically Detectives, we discuss episode 1 of The Night Stalker.
I can't say good evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever episode of Basically Detectives, where me, Kai, and
me, Rick,
are detectives, which we're really not. What we're going to be doing is we're just going to be talking about an episode about a true crime show, a true crime documentary that we've watched, and we're just going to react, talk, have a conversation, shoot the shit, talk to y'all about it. So this is the first ever episode of that. And what we're going to be talking about is The Night Stalker, episode 1, which...
That's my job.
Oh, okay. I mean, it is the first episode and I didn't remember. So, Rick, what are we reviewing tonight?
Well, Kai, I'm glad you asked, because tonight we're reviewing The Night Stalker episode 1 as the beginning of our ongoing review of the series.
Awesome. I can't wait. Episode 1, I know it's just the first episode, but there is little snippets in there that I'm so excited to talk about. Okay, so before we get started, I wanted to remind all of y'all that you can go to our website, www.murderandlove.com, and you can shoot us an SOS there. Once you do that, you're talking about exactly the episode we're talking about, and you want to get your thoughts heard, then we can play your thoughts at the beginning of the next episode. So you're basically going to have a conversation with us and everyone else as well. So go to our website, www.murderandlove.com, hit that SOS button, shout out system, and send us your thoughts about the episode we're talking about. So you can send us your thoughts about episode 1, which we could play on episode 2, and or you could watch episode 2, send us the SOS, and you'll get your thoughts in episode 2, played on episode 2 on the show too. So that's what I have to say. Now, Rick, am I supposed to say something? Because this is our first episode. I messed up already, so I'm just wondering, am I going to mess up again?
The director is telling me that we should be talking about how we feel right now.
You mean the producer?
No, the director.
It's the producer.
Bob. The guy over there. You see him? Over there.
Way over there. Does he have on a hat with sunglasses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hang on. Bob! Wave!
Oh, yeah, I see you over there, Bob.
That guy right there.
I don't know how I see you because we are like states apart, but A-okay, Bob.
Shut up.
Thanks.
Shut up.
All right. So, first of all, I guess we're going to talk about what the Night Stalker is. Who is the Night Stalker about, Rick?
So, the Night Stalker was Richard Ramirez. He was pretty famous in... Pause while Rick Googles the years that he was active.
I just want to let y'all know, while he's Googling, this is basically the show. We are not editing. This is the show. It's a laid-back episode where we're just talking about something that we watched. We're chilling with y'all.
All right, so...
This is not put together. We're just talking, having a conversation. Go ahead, Rick.
All right, so Richard Ramirez was apprehended in the 80s. He was considered the Night Stalker because he went around L.A. and just brutally beat, murdered, tortured, assaulted a long list of people. And one thing that I really enjoy about the Netflix show, I gotta be honest with you, Kai, I watched this show way before you even asked me to come to this show. So, even before we were doing the true crime thing, this was something that caught my attention, like, in my everyday life. What I like about the show is, you know, when people talk about these serial killers like Richard Ramirez or Ted Bundy or all, like, the big names, a lot of people can name the killers, but they can't name the victims. So I'm really glad that this show kind of focused on the people of LA and the authorities of LA. And Richard Ramirez was kind of just like he was the cause of all this, but the show focuses on the people being affected by him. I kind of like that a lot.
I like that too, because my whole thing, even with our show, is we don't try and make the murderer and the idiots famous. We try and make them famous in terms of showing their stupidity, but we try to show how it affected the victim. So I did like that about this also. And man, I like me some Gil Carrero. How do you say his last name? Carrero, the detective. I like him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I guess we're supposed to start off talking about how did you feel? How did the episode make you feel when you watched it?
Well, I rewatched it just for the purposes of doing this episode with you, but I do remember the first time I saw it kind of being enthralled. Like, even when Gil is discussing how he felt about his soon-to-be partner in the show, you could tell that there was a big amount of respect in between the two men, because Gil was essentially the youngest dude on the force at this time, I believe. And a lot of the times when he had a theory, the more senior enforcers were like, oh, this dude's just trying to make a name for himself, blah, 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 blah. It took one dude to be like, I want that Gil guy as my partner. And then they became like a really good team, apparently.
But it wasn't just like any dude. He was like the top dog dude that everybody wanted to be partners with. So and you're right. He was the youngest detective at the time. But I like his backstory, and I also liked how they started it out, because when people think LA, like if you ask anybody overseas, like our overseas listeners, shoot us an SOS or leave us a comment below. When you think LA, not people in the United States, overseas, when you think LA, what do you think about? Like, seriously, what comes to mind? Don't think hard. Just tell me what comes to mind immediately. Usually when people think LA, they think about like glitz and glamour and the, rich people, movie stars.
Hollywood.
Exactly. But this one was saying there's two sides to LA. One side is the amazing, everything that I just said. And then there's the other side, which was the drugs, the massive homelessness, which is still going on. And they showed, I like how they showed the different sides of the Hollywood side. So the one side of the Hollywood side was like all clean and everything like that. And then the helicopter panned to the other side and it has graffiti all on the back, which basically personifies how LA is. And I just really like that. And then I like Detective Gil's story. So we're going to call him Gil because I don't know how to say his last name. Detective Gil's story. I like, he started off, he was raised in a Mexican neighborhood. I'm not going to go all into it because y'all need to watch it yourself. But I like how he started off here and his parents were like, yeah, no, you're getting out, and shipped him off. And it gave him direction, and he was able to make goals for his life. And he had 3 goals. I really like his 3 goals. The first one was pretty funny. And again, I'm not telling y'all because y'all need to watch it. But the first goal was pretty funny, and he completely flubbed on that goal. You remember his first goal?
Yeah, he did what I refer to as failing successfully.
He sure did. And I just thought that was hilarious. But I did like how he went from, he was just, in the streets, just unorganized, not knowing what he was going to do with his life. And when they put him in the military, because his parents saw where this was going, and they shipped him off to the military when he graduated from high school. And how he came back organized. He had goals in life and what he was going to do.
He was ready.
Yeah. And I really like that. And then I like that he, because of his goals and because of his work ethic and everything like that, he became the youngest detective. And then, what did they call this guy? Didn't they call him? No, he wasn't called the Bulldog. He was called Frank Salerno. They called him something. I can't remember his nickname. It wasn't the Bulldogs. The homicide group was called the Bulldogs, but he had his own name. I can't remember it right now. But I like how he picked out Gil, and then he was like, Gil was saying he was sitting there eating one time. So the first time he was around everyone, he was sitting there eating, and he was he started laughing. And the guy was like, "What are you laughing at?" And he was like, "Well," he said, "yesterday I was eating like a double wrap burrito off the hood of some guy's car. And today I'm eating some crepe that I don't even know the name of and wearing a suit. He's like, life is great.
And he was eating chicken parmesan.
Yeah, that's all he was eating. He's never heard of chicken parmesan before. He was eating chicken parmesan and wearing a suit in a restaurant. He was just so happy for the small stuff. Like the rest of us would be like, that's a Tuesday. Like, you know what I'm saying? But he was so happy about this. And it just, it just speaks volumes to me about this guy. I really liked him.
So while we're on the subject, the two nicknames for Frank Salerno were the Italian Stallion and the Cops Detective.
Yeah, that's right. I knew one of them had Italian in it, but I didn't remember what it was. And I remember the Cops Detective. That was a good one. I like that one. But
I will say it's really crazy, and I think we should tell people, like, watch the show before you come to us with this, because then we can really get like our actual opinions on it. We should probably do that instead of having people listen to us and then watch it. But I think it's crazy that Maria Hernandez, I think it's crazy. She survived the attack because she held up her hands, and when he fired the gun, the bullet bounced off of her keys. You know how much of like a small chance of that happening is? Yes.
Wow.
That doesn't happen.
And they showed the keys too. They showed where the bullet hit. I was like, oh my God. Do you know the accuracy? You had your hand in the right place at the right time. That was it. And
I will be honest, there's a lot of instances with Richard Ramirez where the people that he hurt should have died, but didn't. There's a lot of that in his crime spree. So, but still, like, just the chances of that are crazy. And then I think it's, on the flip side, it's really fucked up the way he killed Dale Okazaki. That is so messed up. Like, he saw her hiding behind the counter and just waited for her to stand up to shoot her right in the face.
The thing is, like they said, is he got off on the look of fear.
Yeah, he wanted to see them terrified.
Exactly.
I think that is so messed up and twisted.
That is so messed up.
Oh.
The first woman that you spoke about, was she the same one that said, you shot me already, why would you shoot me again? And he put down his gun?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was, I was like, I was trying to figure out his logic, quote unquote, behind that move. But I guess it was, she wasn't really afraid anymore. She was just like, okay, well. So I guess the whole fear factor that he likes wasn't in it anymore. But then it's like, then he has like no rhyme or reason or no care in the world because he left a witness who saw his face alive. So he didn't even care about being caught. He just didn't care. He was just doing what he was doing. Is that how you felt about it?
Yeah. It's, they theorize that, like you said, he wants to see the fear in their eyes, but then that's like the only explanation we have for why he didn't try to shoot her again. It lost all the valor to him. And I think she even said, like, when she got out of her car, she heard him make the noise to get her attention. So, like, it would have been so easy for him to just shoot her in the back and kill her. Now, he wanted to see her face. That's obvious.
His whole thing. He wants to see your face, the fear. So, like both of us just said, with her, she had just come to, I'm going to die. And she didn't have that fearfulness in her voice, in her body language, anything anymore. So I think it just lost, you know what I'm saying? He just didn't want to do it anymore. And so that's how she survived. You know what story did make me it did make my jaw drop. Remember that woman at the Salvation Army with the AC/DC hat?
Yeah.
Dude, the part where, like, this isn't even like right after. So he had to have been waiting for her. She's like driving home later on and he drives up beside her and like gets in line with her, just stays there driving the same pace at her and just turned around to smile at her. If that wasn't creepy. If you don't think I would have gone home, locked all my doors and bought a gun that night, like, or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, ugh.
Yeah, I highly doubt he just happened to pull up next to her and look at her. That's
because he left before her.
that.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
He left way before her.
That, yeah.
So he was waiting, and
him and his ugly fucking teeth.
And he didn't want to kill her. He just wanted to see fear. That was it. And what was up with his teeth?
They were rotted and crooked and not taken care of.
And I guess he didn't care, huh? Okay.
He had what we here on the East Coast called summer teeth, Kai. Do you know what that means?
No, I never heard that.
It means summer over there, summer there,
Damn.
summer over here.
I heard graveyard teeth. No?
What's that?
Oh, you know how you have a graveyard and you have, I forgot what they're called, the plaques that come out and they're just like all over the place?
The headstones?
The headstones. I told you COVID stole my vocabulary, so y'all gonna have to deal with me. Anyways, so basically teeth that are just like spaced out, like they're not completely together, they're spaced out. People call those graveyard teeth.
Okay.
That is so mean.
That does make sense.
I'm gonna stop. We shouldn't say that because that's so mean because people don't have any control over that. That's just how your teeth come out. And you sitting here.
Well, his teeth were just not taken care of.
Yeah,
like, they were rotted and black and like, you know, so that was all on him. There are people born with like problems with their teeth that they can't help, but that's not the case for Richard Ramirez.
Gotcha. So basically, that story of the Salvation Army, like it creeped me out. It just really creeped me out. But and then like you said with Gil, he figured a lot of stuff out, and the cops did not want to listen to him, which is also a problem in a lot of our shows. He figured that, remember he said, this is a serial killer. This is one person doing this. And everybody was like, no, that's impossible.
You know what pissed me off? They found the shoe print, right? And
Dude,
he was like, oh, okay,
yes.
here's the shoe that the guy wears. They accurately, legitimately measured the shoe. They found the second shoe print, and then supposedly a different crime unit who wasn't believing him that it was the same dude also had a shoe print. And he was like, guys, are you looking for a size 12? And they were like, no, we're looking for a size 10. How did you get that? Oh, well, one of our guys put a differently shaped shoe that was a size 10 into the mold and said, oh, it's a size 10.
So it was the guy who was
ignorant.
talking to him. He said, I just put my foot over it. And he was wearing wingtips. So
yeah, they're designed to look longer than they are.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
So he just put his wingtip shoe over the footprint of, like, what was it, a sneaker?
Of a sneaker.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, looks like he's a size 10 to me, Johnson.
I'm not saying the brand of sneaker because they haven't paid us to say it yet.
That's right. Pay
Rick
us.
doesn't say brand names, people. You gotta pay me for that shit. You gotta pay me that goodish for your goodish.
But yeah, so he was just like, he just measured it base. He didn't even like step in the sneaker print, obviously, but it's just hovering over there. So even though you're not supposed to put your foot on the evidence, duh. But hovering doesn't help either because you don't know if your foot has moved or is it actually in line.
I think Gil said that they explained it as they put the foot next to the footprint.
No, he said
and did it that way.
He said over. Trust me, I rewound and I was like, what?
Okay.
So yeah, he put it over, and so it was just hovering over, and then he was just like, "Yep, sounds about right, size 10."
Well, I mean, I guess there's a reason why Frank Salerno caught the Hillside Strangler and not the rest of the department. You know. Like,
yeah, because he actually was like doing his work and not just hovering shoes over stuff and stuff. Yeah. So now I was like, with the Hillside Strangler, I was like, ooh, who's that? Now we got to do an episode on him because I have to find out who this is.
I think you mean an episode on them.
Ooh, the plot thickens.
He was infamous for figuring out that the Hillside Strangler was actually two people.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So we got to do an episode on them. So the other thing before we wrap this up, because this ain't supposed to be long, is the numbers that they talked about. So he said there was 350 to 400 murders a year in sheriff homicide. But then the LA Bureau Department had 500 to 600 a year, which meant in LA County, there was about like 1,000 murders a year. What?
Yep.
What? Was nobody like?
They even say
shocked?
in the beginning of the show. They even explain in the beginning of the show, like, everyone thinks about LA, like you said earlier, everyone thinks of LA as this big glamorous place with these big sprawling buildings and the celebrity life, but if you turn around the corner 2 blocks down, it's a very different picture. What's the name of, because I know you and Shar covered Elisa Lam. What was the name of that hotel that she was in?
Ah, dude, I can't even remember. Shar would remember. I don't remember.
Richard Ramirez. All right, well, call Shar real quick and ask her, like, on camera. I'm just kidding. Whatever because the name of that hotel changed afterward because it has a lot of like death and suicide and murder.
It did, yes,
and
I
drugs
remember that.
tied to it. Richard Ramirez reportedly stayed at that hotel during his crime spree. So there's a lot of crazy ish going on in LA. At least there was back then. I don't know about right now. Maybe it's a little bit better. I have no idea. I can't speak for LA today. I don't live anywhere near LA. But as far as like back then, there was a lot going on in LA.
I mean, I don't think there's a lot of murders in LA now. I don't think. We'll find out by the next episode. But I know like the homelessness thing is still a big issue. That one I know. And if y'all actually want to find out what hotel that is, don't look it up. Just go back and listen to episode 47 where we did a collab. It was a paranormal collab. And it was on Elisa Lam. So I know everybody has done a show about Elisa Lam, but ours was different because we talked about the mental health aspect, the paranormal possibility, and the true crime aspect. So listen to ours, which is episode 47 that we did back in March. And we had a guest host on. So it was me, Shar, and a guest host from another podcast. And it's actually really, really good. I did a British accent in it, or what I thought was a British accent. So go back and listen to that if you dare.
Apologies to all our friends across the sea. I'm just going to say it right now. Hello, love. Kai,
wow. Oh, I thought that was you trying to do it. I was about to say,
no,
wow, you were...
That was me making fun of you trying to do a British accent.
If you want to hear my British accent, go to that episode and you could hear it. But anyway, so...
One thing, too, I just thought of. Shouldn't we have the lovely lambs do their SOSs on an episode before we cover it?
That's
because
what I
when
said.
we get to this...
That's what I said.
You said... The coverage for when we do their episode 2. Well, hold on, no, because you said if they say what they felt about episode 1, that was going to be on our episode 2.
You're not listening. I said you can, since if you missed it on episode 1 and you wanted to get your thoughts out on episode 1, you can shoot us an SOS. But also watch episode 2 and then shoot us an SOS on that, and we'll play that before we play before we do our part of the show.
All right, so we're going to be playing their episode 2 shout-outs for episode 2.
Yeah.
Is that right, Bob? Bob,
pay attention.
God.
Why are you our producer? I don't even...
Director.
Producer.
Sam is the producer.
Not the same.
No, Sam is right over there.
Bob is saying we're going to have a meeting after the show to find out if he's the producer or director, since we can't figure it out. What the hell is Sam doing here? You were fired last week. Get out. No.
Oh, McWilliams had told me that the charges got dropped, so technically we have to let Sam keep working here.
Damn it. This podcast is going to crap. That's all we have for you today. Go ahead and watch episode 1 of The Night Stalker on Netflix. And next week, we're going to be bringing you episode 2. in succession. Episode 2. So go to our website, www.murderandlove.com. That's love and murder backwards, murderandlove.com. And and send us an SOS on episode 2 if you want your thoughts heard. Also, as you know, we're a true crime podcast. So listen out for our full-length true crime episodes every Sunday right here on Love and Murder. And you can catch us on any platform you listen on. Like, when I say any platform, we're everywhere. Anywhere.
Yeah, look right behind you.
You feel those hairs on the back of your neck? So anyways, thank you for joining us. Watch episode 2. Shoot us an SOS. We can't wait to bring you our thoughts on episode 2. And I know, go down in the comments below, shoot us an SOS, and let us know what you think about the first episode of Basically Detectives. That's all we got for you. Bye.